Hey, what's up, guys? Alright, so I have a question for all of you. How did you feel about this week's chapter of Black Clover? Because I gotta be honest with you. I kind of felt like this chapter missed its mark, because for the most part in this chapter, it was supposed to be an emotional roller coaster. And it was supposed to basically send you up and down, like make you feel each scene a different emotion, whether it be sadness, happiness, joy, something like that. Each scene was supposed to invoke a different emotion. And when I first read the chapter, I didn't really get that. I felt like each scene that was supposed to invoke an emotion didn't really basically do a good job of like portraying that emotion, I guess. But that ended up just being like a translation error. When I read a better translated version of the chapter, I did feel better about those scenes. Like I did feel like those scenes actually did a better job. But still, I felt like there were scenes that actually worked and some scenes that didn't work when it came to conveying emotions. And I just kind of want to go over those scenes real quick. Okay, so let's start off with that first scene where Asta's ready to bring his sword down on top of Luck to turn him back into a normal human. Then we see Luck, the elf-sized Luck, basically try to attack Asta again. Then Magna and Vanessa jump in, grab his arms, and then the three of them are working together to save their friend. In that scene, you're supposed to feel like you're a member of the Black Wolves. Like this scene right here is supposed to invoke that kind of emotion. All right, if you guys have ever played RPGs, you know those moments in some RPGs where like a comrade of yours in the game is kidnapped and you're supposed to be working to rescue him. Yeah, you're supposed to be feeling like that kind of moment right there where you're like working with the Black Bulls, like you're a member of the Black Bulls right there, helping them to save their friend. You're supposed to feel that kind of like, I guess, a hopeful feeling in this scene right here where you're like, yeah, I hope things work out. I hope in this scene right here, with all three of them working together, they could finally save Luck. And you know what? I think in this scene right here, the emotional aspect works. I think in both translations I've read of this chapter, the emotion was conveyed perfectly here because not only was it in this chapter where we see all three of them working together so hard in order to save their friend, but you also had to build up to it from the like 2 chapters ago or 3 chapters ago when Magna and Vanessa first started to face off against Luck. Then to build up with the chapter after they fought so hard against him and Asta showed up to help them out in the last chapter. And then you get in this chapter where the three of them work together so hard just to save him. Like because of how well that chapter, how well this like whole saving Luck thing was built up throughout the 3 4 chapters, it basically helps to convey the emotion that they're trying to convey in this chapter or in the scene. Then when we look at the scene where the elf is basically starting to turn into that more like demonic form of an elf that we've been seeing them turn into lately, it's you're supposed to feel in that moment that basically like a little bit fearful that maybe the elf actually might blow up and kill himself and maybe take out Vanessa and Magna and possibly Asa as well. But it doesn't feel right in that scene. It doesn't feel like it's conveying that kind of like fearful aspect or it's supposed to that it's not invoking that fear in me that I thought that it should be in both translations of the chapter that I read. Simply because of the fact that I was, for one hand, you knew it wasn't going to kill off any of these characters. I mean, maybe Magna, maybe we would kill off Magna, but you knew it wasn't going to kill off Asta, and I was sure it wasn't going to kill off Vanessa with how powerful she is at this point, or how useful she is for the series at this point. So, there was no fear aspect of like maybe losing a character. Like maybe Luck would die, but you weren't really that afraid that the characters actually were going to die in the scene. And then on top of that, it kind of drew me off how like he was so ready to basically die and turn into this demonic, crazy form that the elves have been turning into. Simply because of the fact that it seemed like Lux Elf and the elf beforehand that that flower that plant guy that they dealt with in Hage Village, it just seemed like they were too quick to turn like crazy and turn demonic. It just didn't make sense to me simply because of the fact that we saw Lyre or Raya pushed even further than they were, and he still kept his composure. He still kept like his sanity, and then turned into that demonic form. So it's confusing me why these elves that we've been seeing that everyone else has turned into it's so easy for them to basically turn demonic when someone like Raya, who's up against someone who could have killed him very easily and should have killed him early off in the fight, was able to keep his composure and basically stop himself from turning into that demonic elf. Okay, then we get to the scene inside Luck's mind, or basically when we're seeing that inner side of him where he's like a child in that dark place. And this scene's supposed to be like this scenes are supposed to be, okay, then we get to the scenes where we're basically inside Luck's mind and we see like a child version of him in that dark area. And this scene is supposed to basically invoke a whole bunch of emotions. Like it's supposed to invoke fear, happiness, sadness. It's supposed to invoke all that shit. Because alright, when we started off, you see Luck in that dark area by himself, and he hears the faint voices of like Asta, Magna, Vanessa calling out to him and trying to like wake him up. But it seemed as soon as his mom shows up, like he can barely hear the voices at that. But as soon as his mom shows up, he kind of just like gives up on hearing them and doesn't care anymore and wants to go be with her. So basically showing him that he's going to the afterlife, giving full control of his body to the elf, and just going on to be with his mom. So you're supposed to be afraid that, maybe Luck actually will just give up and not, come back to us. And this is a very real fear, simply because of the fact that we saw in Luck's backstory that he'll do whatever his mom tells him in order to make her happy, simply because of the fact that he believes that she is the only person in his life who will ever truly love him. So he basically, like, as soon as she shows up in the chapter and says, hey, Luck, come to me, come be with me, he's ready to give up everything to go be with her, because, like I said, he thinks that being with her and making her and doing whatever she tells him will make her happy, and he wants her to be happy simply because of the fact that he believes that she loves him more than anyone ever will. Then after Asta finally brings the sword down onto Luck's body and starts to basically turn him back into a normal human by dispelling the reincarnation magic, we see a bright light open up inside the mindscape of the Luck, and he realizes, hey, I need to go back to be with my friends. He even tells his mom that there's something that he still has to do and there's people he has to go help out. And, usually in the scene, it's like, in a scene where someone's close to death and on the verge of dying, they don't want to go towards the bright light. But in the scene, it works is actually what's going to lead him to being, himself again. And he actually runs off saying, goodbye to a final goodbye to his mom. And this scene, you're supposed to be happy for multiple reasons. Mostly because, Luck's finally coming back to us. We're going to have Luck on our side again. No longer Elf Luck anymore. Also for the fact that basically Luck's getting over that, emotional need or that emotional crutch of needing his mom to be happy or thinking that his mom will be the only one to ever love him. He basically comes to terms with the fact that, yeah, my friends, my, members of the Black Bulls, my squad mates, they also love me and they will also, have my back. So I don't need my mom's love anymore. I don't have to fight for her anymore. I can fight for myself and them. And you kind of feel a little sad in the scene because, one of Luck's main things was that he wanted to see his mom smile. That's been his driving goal throughout the entire thing. And then when he finally decides to give up on that dream, finally decides to give up on the idea of making his mom smile in order to go back to being with his friends and realizing that, they love him. That's when he finally gets his mom to smile. When we finally see his mom tearfully smiling, saying her final goodbye to her son. It's supposed to invoke sadness simply because of the fact that, yeah, Luck, his one driving goal throughout the series, is kind of mute now. He achieved it, but he didn't get to realize that he achieved it. And at the same time, we see that the mom really did love him, despite how, kind of distant and, kind of psychotic she was towards him and abusive she was towards him when she was alive. In death, she did finally come to love her son as much as, he loved her. So it's kind of sad that he never got to finally get that closure that, A, he got to see his mom smile, and B, he got to find out that she truly did love him. Then we get the scene where that was basically disappearing, and it's saying kind of his goodbye to Asta, Magna, and Vanessa. And it's kind of weird because, I feel like it's supposed to invoke sadness for the elf, and we're supposed to feel sorry for it. Because it's, the elf was basically saying, hey, I wish I could have met people like you when I was alive and become friends with people like you. And it's kind of weird to see that because, for one, we don't really even know who this elf is. We don't know his actual name. Or as far as I can remember, we don't know his actual name. And on top of that, it seems like it came out of nowhere. It came out of left field compared to where the elf was just a second ago, where it was basically ready to kill himself and turn into a demon or basically just blow up in order to kill Vanessa, Magna, and Asta. So the fact that, just from a quick flashback where it saw a quick scene of the first Magic Emperor saying that he wishes that humans and elves can live in peace, it's kind of weird that he kind of did a heel turn that way, which kind of goes to a theory I have that I'm going to talk about later on in the video. But yeah, I don't feel like that scene was conveyed well with the emotional aspect I was trying to convey. And then we got the final scene when Luck finally coming back. He is crying. He's basically saying, hey, can I truly call you guys friends? Can I truly become a member of the Black Bulls and be an ally to you guys? And of course, Magna and everyone's saying, hey, yeah, you already are our friend. Don't worry about that shit. And we actually get the scene where Magna at the end is basically hugging Luck, telling him, hey, you bastard, shut up, you're already our friend. And, this scene works simply because of the fact that we already had, the build-up of Luck coming to terms or, basically becoming friends with everyone in the Black Bulls and building a bond, such a deep bond, kind of like the same bond that and Asta have with Magna. So, like I said, this scene works because it's been, built up beforehand in previous chapters. That's what basically all the scenes that I think work in this chapter that are supposed to convey emotion. They all work simply because of the fact that they've been built up throughout the chapter or throughout the series. And the ones I don't think work in this chapter are the ones that kind of just come out of left field for this chapter alone. And that's pretty much all that happened in the chapter. Now, I do want to quickly talk about that scene that we got with that final scene with the elf right before it disappeared. Now, I wasn't sure when I first read the chapter, but after rereading it, yeah, Asta actually did use his sword to basically cure Luck of the reincarnation magic. And in that, after he uses his sword on him, we see the elf basically turn into what we saw in a flashback, the original flashback with the elves, where it seemed like it was peaceful. It seemed like it actually wanted to be friends with humans, and it didn't have that kind of like malice and hatred inside of it. And I'm starting to wonder from that scene if maybe the reincarnation magic doesn't just affect the humans, but when it brings the elves back, maybe it has some kind of like negative effect on them. Like maybe because of Patry's like hatred and like disdain for humans, when he used the reincarnation magic, that kind of disdain and hatred got passed on to the other elves through that magic. So despite the fact that maybe they didn't have any hatred for humans in their afterlife, maybe their spirits were kind of affected by the reincarnation magic and turned into like evil spirits simply because of the fact that the reincarnation magic was affected by Patry. I don't know. That's just like kind of a theory I have after reading the chapter, because like I said, as soon as Asta used the sword to basically dispel the effects of the reincarnation magic, the elf kind of turned back into like that normal like friendly type of elf that we saw in all the flashbacks. So yeah, like I said, I'm thinking that maybe the reincarnation magic has some kind of effect on them that turns them into like evil spirits. But we'll see more of that in the future, hopefully, and figure out my theory is correct or not. But that's pretty much it for the video. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop me a like. Subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. Comment down below your thoughts and theories on this chapter, and catch you guys later. Peace.